thank you so much, everyone, for hanging around. You've no idea how much we appreciate it, especially when you get the opportunity to meet every single one of these wonderful filmmakers. We're about to have a lot of fun, learn stuff about these beautiful creative people and their process and also their wonderful films. Wow, what an experience with Daisy. Wasn't that a ride? Like, I feel like, just going into a new school in any situation for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, was a terrifying experience. What was the inspiration for you for your piece?
My inspiration definitely took a lot of pieces from my life. So much so that when my best friend, when I was telling her about the movie, she was like, "I didn't ditch you on your first day, Eunice." I was like, I know, it's not an autobiography. So definitely takes from themes of my life. We actually shot in my old school as well, so it was kind of trippy. But just, it is set in 2006, so a little bit kind of back in the day. So it's just personal experience, personal themes. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, you were saying you drew a lot from your like personal experience and it was set in your old high school, which would have been a total trip. How long were you working on this the concept for this film?
Honestly, I think it was firstly supposed to be a novel back probably around high school, where I just wanted to share some vignettes of my experience. And then, so that was over 10 years ago. And then when I went to film school, I figured, oh, this would actually be a fun medium to explore that in. So in terms of writing it, probably a year, and then kind of tweaked it to be a web series because Telestory Hive was looking for web series. So I just figured I would chop the first 10 minutes and call it a web series and see how it went.
And was there an important lesson, you've been making films for a little while and you worked with Story Hive. Was there an important lesson you learned that had a positive effect on the final product of your film?
Yeah, I think something that I've learned, which was surprising, was more about character and just really setting that ego aside and realizing that, wow, Eunice, you don't actually always have the best ideas, and really valuing other people's ideas. And not that I consider myself like a savage person by any means, but just, there is sometimes that little voice inside where you're like, no, I think my idea is better, but really coming to that real place of recognizing all these amazing creative people that you're working with, and that it's really just, there's so much value in bringing other people's talents and ideas into the mix to create something better than you could have on your own.
Wow. That's so cool. A lesson in collaboration, I guess, like really, and the freedom that comes with that. Because I haven't been at the helm of a film, so that must, directing, you're holding all the parts, right? You're at the wheel. So to allow that space would have been, wow. What's catching you creatively now? What are you working on at the moment? What's going on?
Yeah, so Ginger Beef, it's in development with CBC Gem. So right now I'm revising the series Bible for that. So we'll see what happens after that, but one step at a time. Thank you.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that, and thank you so much. Anna. So you wrote and directed this piece.
I did, yes. And I also, I didn't mention it before, but I was involved in the editing process as well.
Wow.
So along the whole way.
So this was such an interesting piece. Like, I was watching it and the characters were so vivid, and like I almost felt like just these like wild kind of otherworldly people, and so vivid in this the mise-en-scene of it all. And I just wanted to ask you, what was the inspiration for this story? Like, what was it about it that you wanted to tell?
So it actually started out as a short story that I wrote about 6 months before I started making it into a screenplay, which was in September of 2019. And I guess it's kind of based out of, whenever I go out, I just kind of like, I'm fascinated by the idea of people watching and like how everyone kind of living their own lives and they kind of intersect in these public places. So I guess it comes from the kind of romanticism of that concept.
Yeah, and it was such a wonderful place, I guess, to people watch, right? Like everything goes still in those moments.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just wondering, because you were shooting in a laundromat, were there any barriers or frustrations that you had to work through on this actual shoot?
Oh, for sure, yeah. So the location was a miracle in itself because like I hardly had to do any set decking. Like I just like mostly left it as it was. But the biggest challenge was probably just shooting around the opening hours because the owner of the place said we could do like whatever we wanted as long as it wasn't during opening hours. Yeah. So we were kind of working weird late hours, like 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. like for 4 days in a row. So I think that was the most challenging part.
Oh wow! I mean that's a lot. Like
yeah,
that's a lot.
yeah. I mean it was fun. It was a hustle, but it definitely was stressful at times.
I just want to check in and see what's going on for you creatively now. Like, what are you working with? What's exciting you?
So yeah, right now I'm actually doing a film production program at Concordia University in Montreal. Wow. I'm in first year there, and right now we're working on like our winter semester film, which is supposed to be around like 5 minutes, and I'm working on an experimental piece right now that's going to be like mixed found footage from some family archive.
Oh wow!
Well, so yeah, I'm working on I mean, it's also kind of an ode to Vancouver as well, so they're thematically related a bit.
Oh wow! Well, I wish you all the luck of that, and thank you so much for creating this piece. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for letting me.
I'm so glad I got to share it with you guys.
30-foot lot. We've got Sarah here. Hi, how you going?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good. So this was a student film.
Yes. Yeah. It was my grad film. So
wow. Yeah, I was so impressed, and I just want to ask you, like, when I moved to Vancouver, I found out about Vancouver Specials. Like, it's not a thing; it's kind of known. I guess in other places of the world. But you know, what was the inspiration for you to explore this interesting topic?
I lived in a Vancouver Special for a long time, and one day I was doing dishes, and the house next to me was an identical Vancouver Special, and she was doing her dishes at the same time I was doing my dishes. So then I was just like, yeah. So then it was just like a parallel universe, and I was like, I'm sure, you know, what other people are doing dishes right now, you know? And they're
what are they doing? So you actually wrote 300 letters?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, did you typed them?
Yeah, I just sent them in the mail. So there's this. Am I really echoey for you, or is it okay?
No, you're great. You're great.
Yeah. There's a great artist, and I'm forgetting their name. But if you look at VancouverSpecial.com, I think there's just an artist that like did photography with and just shot, like took photos of all these different Vancouver Special houses. So then like I had all these addresses of Vancouver Special houses. So then I just sent 300 letters via mail to those houses, and then got 6 responses and just did a film with those 6 people.
So the 6 turned out like incredibly like different, right? Like, wasn't that cool? Like, like fate or something? Like,
yeah, it could have been way worse. Absolutely awful, for sure.
And did you have any limitations when shooting this? Like, did you come up against, because you're going into people's homes, I just wonder, other than only 6 people replying, the 6 perfect people, was there any difficulties when bringing this documentary together?
No, I mean, I only had 2 hours with each person. So I feel like that's kind of reflected in the film, is that you don't get really in depth. You don't like really get to know someone like you would maybe in like a drama or something where you like really get to dive into the character. It's like a little bit like shallow, you know, and that's like reflected in that time period of only having an hour interview and an hour B-roll kind of time. So yeah, I'd say that was probably a difficulty that reflected in the film.
I saw that you're also an illustrator.
Yeah, I love
You do some really beautiful work. If anyone wants to check it out after this, I really recommend it. And I just want to see what's going on for you now creatively. Like, are you working on anything, or you're playing with new things?
Yeah, I work for the Jewish Museum right now. It's a Young Canada Works position. If anyone is looking for an internship, it will pop up in April. You can't be Jewish or not Jewish, but they're looking for someone. And so I'm doing like a project with 1970s rodeo photography, which is actually super interesting. I had no idea BC had such a rodeo culture. But yeah, so I'm doing an exhibition for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate your time and your offering up into this festival.
Hi.
Okay, guys. All right. So I cried in this film, and like in a happy way. Like my heart I was so warmed. I don't even know what to say. Like, I want to meet her. I don't know how to do that. Like, it's obviously difficult in COVID, but we'll get there. Really welcome, by the way. So just a first question. How did you find out about the Whale House and the star of this documentary?
I'll take that question. I used to live there.
Oh,
so I'm one of the lucky roommates that got to meet and garden and live alongside IE.
I'm
yeah, so that's pretty much how I met her. And it was the most bizarre thing when I first met her. I was like, what's happening? Who is this person? Like, what's the relationship? Is she the landlord? And then, and then I got kind of the lowdown, and yeah, she was just one of the roommates. She was just one of the people that was always around. And yeah, from really early on, I wanted to find out more about her, and I wanted to know where she lives, what she's up to, like what's her family like. There were so many questions, and we just never had a chance to talk in depth for the obvious reasons. But yeah, then I told the story to Greg, and after I moved out, and Greg really he really gave me a kick to really make the documentary. You
Good on you, Greg.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful and moving film about connection across so many divides and borders, and I just thought it was so beautiful, especially for right now. So thank you so much for that film. I just want to ask you about any of the limitations you faced when creating this documentary.
I could take a couple. Yeah, just in terms of like scheduling was a challenge, timing was a challenge. It kind of happened over a period of time, and then suddenly the roommates were moving out. So then it was something that we were thinking about doing before they decided to move out. We started shooting a little bit, and then they decided to move out, and it was like, okay, this has to happen. And so Martyna, we had this little like handy cam, almost like
like a daddy cam, like your dad brought to like recital.
And they were moving out, and I just like Martyna, like, take this camera, like, to go there, and she shot the first little parts of the movie that like are in the film, like, and it's just, you know, her there with that little handy cam, like making it happen. So we had some technical things. It was like trying to schedule it, and then time restraints. I mean, it's documentary, so it's kind of unfolding as you're going. So
yeah, it was definitely time restraints were a big one, just because we didn't have any dates or times set up with IE. She would just show up whenever she would show up. Sometimes we'd sit in the backyard for 5 hours and it'd start raining and we still hadn't got anything. And then sometimes she would just show up, and then she always was super happy to film. So we were like, okay, this is cool. And the one time we actually scheduled something was that big sit down interview, the big table. That was the first time everybody spoke to each other with a translator. So you're witnessing the first language contact that those roommates had in 8 years, which is such a magical moment. So yeah, the biggest time, it was time, and of course the language barrier, because she does speak a very rare dialect of Cantonese that is mixed with a little bit of English and a little bit of Mandarin too. So even our two Cantonese translators, they said that they maybe understood 80%. So I think that was a big one too, because we couldn't figure out what language that was for the longest time.
What's going on creatively now? What are you getting up to?
Oh my God, I work for the Documentary Organization of Canada. So we're doing a lot for the BC, Yukon, and Northwest Territories chapters. So lots of events coming up. We're working on a documentary series. We're in development. We were funded by Rogers and Creative BC for development, which is exciting. Greg is busy editing and coloring. That's his main gig. He's working on a TELUS documentary right now. Really exciting one.
Yeah. I just finished coloring a 10-minute short, and then moving on to editing a teleshort. So
wow.
And we're both trying to write scripts.
Yeah.
But not documentary fiction, which is also really exciting. But you gotta just do it and not watch a whole series back to back.
Yeah.
That's a very, very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for talking with me and your offering. It's beautiful, and I look forward to connecting with you a little bit later. Natalie Murao, and from No More Parties, hello, how are you?
I'm good.
So, I just want to ask you, what was your inspiration behind the journey with Rose?
Yeah, that's a good question. The inspiration, well, I think I wrote like kind of the main concept of this back in like my last year of university, or just like inklings of it. And I just kind of wanted to make like an Asian Canadian coming of age story set in Vancouver, and kind of based off people that I've seen, like my friends and my experiences. And that's, kind of what I did.
It was beautiful, I have to say. And I just really want to commend you on your casting choices. With the actor Kimberly Yip. Wow, what an incredibly beautiful and nuanced actress. I just wanted to ask you, did you have a particular idea for how, because this is a character-driven piece, I assume, and did you have a particular way that you wanted Kimberly to externalize your story, or were you letting her roll with it, or how did you approach this with your direction?
It's funny you mentioned like her acting, because she is like a improv comedian. Like she's not like a dramatic actress at all. And like the reason why I chose her, like Kimberly Yip, and then the Kimberly Hau is Lena. There's two Kims on set, which is a little confusing. But they're both like very into improv, and Kim Hau has more experience with theater. And this movie, like I filmed it back in 2018, and everything was a little rushed to get it filmed. And so I knew I needed people who could be really like flexible and down to just improvise. And like a lot of the script wasn't written; it was a lot of improvisation with the dialogue. And so I just kind of let them do their thing. Wow. I just told them kind of like, this is the main goal of this scene, or like, this is why I'm making it, or this is what needs to happen. And I just put a lot of my trust into them. And I think it paid off.
It really paid off. I have to say, like, I was just watching and I was mesmerized by your characters just moving through space and emotion. And like I said, incredible nuance. So I was like, wow. I just want to ask you, what roles have film festivals played in your career, and how have you gotten the most out of them?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Film festivals, I guess just like, I miss going to the festivals and meeting the people and like making those connections, and also just seeing the films in the cinema as well. That's what I miss. And it feels kind of weird because I edited this film while I was away in Japan for a year, and I was like, okay, I want to release it once I can submit to festivals and I actually go to the festivals. But now all the festivals are virtual and online.
Here we are.
So it's interesting how we're like, making do with what the situation is.
And I hear that you were a lifeguard.
Yeah. Where did you get this information? Oh my gosh. I was
Don't worry about me and my sources.
Oh my gosh, what's on the internet? I need to check my privacy settings.
No, we have a mutual acquaintance. Or
Okay. Yeah, I've worked with Vancouver for a long time.
wow. And just for a little bit of fun, I threw that in there. And what are you doing creatively? What's going on?
I feel like I've been exposed or something. Yeah, so what's up next? Well, No More Parties was just selected as part of the Telefilm's Not Short on Talent cohort, and it'll be going to Clermont-Ferrand short film market. So I'm super excited about that. And it's also playing at some other festivals soon, but I can't say.
Okay.
But it's really exciting. And yeah, I'm just doing some writing, trying to make a feature, but also procrastinating.
That's cool. I do that a lot as well myself. So yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Natalie. Thank you so much. Thank you. Breaking the silence. And I have Jackson. Hello.
Hi, Dana. Thank you so much for having me.
It's so nice to meet you as well. I'm so excited to speak with you.
Likewise.
Ooh, your film. Wow. You did not need a lot of time to communicate that beautiful, beautiful sentiment and message. Is so powerful.
Thank you.
Oh, this is all you, truly. I just wanted to ask you, how did you meet Paul?
Yeah, Paul Wong really is the star of the show, and I feel like all those beautiful sentiments that you spoke about, I just felt like I was the person catching all the gems, because everything he says is just truth bombs, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how do I condense this into 5 minutes? I met him through an incredible queer matchmaking program called Troublemakers. It's convened by Love Intersections, Real Youth, and the Vancouver Queer Film Festival, or Out on Screen, that manages the Vancouver Queer Film Festival. And they were just pairing emerging filmmakers with established troublemakers who are seniors who have done quite a bit of change making throughout their careers and their lifetimes. And so it was like an incredible opportunity to meet a cohort of incredible seniors who have done incredible work in Vancouver and beyond. And I had the wonderful opportunity to be matched with Paul Wong.
And that wisdom, right? Like that's something that that age can only give you, and existing. And I loved, just claiming his space. I thought was so incredibly powerful, and the message that carried. And I just wanted to ask you, this was your first film that I found out. And what was it about, your connection with Paul that you wanted to put on camera, that you wanted to put in the screens for other people to connect with?
That's a really great question, Dana. Or sorry, Donna. Donna. I think Paul, growing up, I never had any mentors who had made it as an artist, who were openly queer and also Asian. And to be able to see someone who's made it as an artist, he's quite lucrative. He's got his own Wikipedia page and has been featured around the world. And someone who not only has survived but thrived amidst all the prejudice and the discrimination that he's faced, growing up in the 60s and 70s, and that I have also faced as a young person growing up in the 90s. I was just so intrigued as to what shaped him into the person that he is today. Once I realized that I had landed Paul Wong, I Googled him and I was like researching a little bit more, and there was interview after interview about his projects and all that he's done and his kind of visions for the world and what this art piece was about. But there was very little about who he was. and what were the factors that shaped him. And context is something that I'm always really interested in, especially in documentary filmmaking. And so I wanted the audience to learn a little bit more. And what mostly resonated to me through the 2 half days that we shot this was his story about the factors that shaped him into who he was and what he still wants, and why he invites us to take up that space.
Oh, it was so moving, and coming through with visibility and holding your space and claiming your space. I just wanted to ask you, what are you working on creatively now?
Yeah, I live in an artistic collective called the Blue House here in Vancouver, and we've got a running list of things that have happened through the house during the pandemic. So thinking about shooting there. I think a big part of my process has been about developing deeper relationships with folks in my community, not necessarily for the thoughts of any sort of project, but just thinking about what it means to be alone and isolated in this time, and what does it mean to feel like connected, and to have that stability in our friendships and relationships. And then just, hearing back from some grants and maybe working with a distributor to release this a little bit further and have other people see it. The Break Through the Silence film.
So excited for your career and the trajectory of this film. I hope everyone gets the opportunity to see this. And thank you so much for your offering. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. What's a happy accident on your film? Whoever wants to go.
Yeah, really quickly, on the very first day of the shoot, we weren't able to get into Paul's office. And so we ended up having to shoot in the hallway. The hallway, and for those of you who have seen it, it's with like purple and pink lighting. There was kind of like this background noise in it, and we were kind of worried that it would be distracting. But in the end, it came off really beautifully, I think, the visuals and the background noise added, I think, to the kind of sense of disturbia in the piece. And so, that was a really happy accident, and we just rolled with it.
Oh, anyone else has a happy accident they'd like to share?
The shot of IE at the door, just coming to the door, looking to see if there's anyone in it. Just the way that shot happened. We pointed at the door, and she came to the door and looked in, and just to see what was there. It's just all so random where you decide to I think I'm gonna roll. Okay, I'm gonna go here, and then something happens. It's it's pretty magical.
Oh wow, it's amazing how things can just work out. My next question: what do you do to step through the fear of offering up your creative baby? Is there a process where you're okay with letting go, or how do you work through that fear? Just quickly.
Just a quick question.
No.
It wasn't helpful, was it?
Well, for me, honestly, it really helps to have mentors like Paul Wong and other incredible mentors who've paved the way for what I do, and to see how far they've come and the desires they have for the next generation. For me, it's about claiming my voice and using it to make the world better for the people who are following in my footsteps in the future, my small footsteps in the future.
Thank you, Jackson. Was there anyone else that wanted to take a stab at that question?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just sometimes it's easy to just take things so seriously, and just to remember, smile, have fun, you enjoy working with these people, you're making a movie, it's just to let it go a little bit and just enjoy the process.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you coming here. I'd just like to thank everyone who stayed through our Q&A. Thank you for coming along with the ride with me. I have had too much fun with these filmmakers. And I hope you enjoy, as this is Programme 6, we have the award show coming up tonight. So thank you so much, everyone. Bye!
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.